I mean, just picture this for a second. Luka Modric he's 40 years old right now.
Yeah, 40. It's crazy.
Right. And he's recovering from a fractured cheekbone. And tomorrow, he basically has to figure out how to outrun a pack of, like, 20-something English sprinters in the sweltering Texas heat.
Good luck with that.
Seriously. So welcome to the Deep Dive, everyone. I am genuinely thrilled you're here with us today for this one. But before we jump into this massive Group L opener, we actually have an enormous announcement.
Oh, yeah, this is huge.
It really is. We are pushing hard on our mission, and we're hoping to reach 1 million subscribers. You, the listener, are the foundation of our success and continuation. So please hit that subscribe button to catch all our new content and encourage the team.
And we're making it worth your while, too.
Exactly. To celebrate this milestone, we're giving away a grand prize to the viewer who correctly predicts the final score of today's featured match. And that prize is half of the channel's profits.
Half? That's unbelievable.
It is. But look, the lawyers want us to be crystal clear here. We are not a betting platform. I repeat, you aren't paying to play. The prize money comes directly from the channel's profits, not from the contestants' money. So, get those predictions in.
It's basically the perfect way to up the ante for what is, honestly, probably the most fascinating tactical chess match of this entire World Cup group stage.
Totally. So let's get right into the mud here. Dallas, England versus Croatia. The ambitions for both of these squads are just sky high.
Yeah, they have to be. I mean, England is carrying the weight of being back-to-back Euro runners-up. Plus, they were quarterfinalists in 2022.
Right. They are absolutely desperate to finally get over the hump and win something.
And then you have Croatia, who are just the ultimate tournament survivors. I say that with total respect, by the way.
Oh, for sure. The ultimate cockroach of international football. They just never die.
Right. Runners-up in 2018, third place in 2022. They know how to navigate a tournament. But what really grabs me about this specific game is the clash on the touchline.
The managers.
Yes. You have Thomas Tuchel's high-intensity, aggressive Premier League style colliding directly with Zlatko Dalic's pragmatism.
And Dalić has so much international experience. He is a master of, extra time and penalty shootouts.
Exactly. Yeah. That stylistic collision is where this game is going to be won or lost. Because Tuchel, he wants to dictate the entire reality of the match.
Yeah.
When England has the ball, they don't just, sit in a standard 4-2-3-1 formation. They twist into this highly aggressive 3-2-5 shape.
Wait, okay, for people who maybe don't stare at tactical boards all day, what does that actually look like on the pitch?
So basically, 3 defenders stay back, 2 midfielders sit just ahead of them, and then 5 players completely flood the forward line to overwhelm the defense.
Oh, wow. 5 guys just pinning them back.
Right. And Dalić counters this with his notoriously solid defensive mid-block.
Meaning they aren't, pressing high up the pitch.
Yeah, exactly. No high press. But they aren't parking the bus in their own penalty area either. They basically just condense the middle third of the pitch. They're daring England to try and pass through a forest of legs.
Okay, I have to stop you there because this brings up the most glaring controversy of the week.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
I mean, you have to talk about it. Tuchel's whole brand is high-intensity attacking football. Yet he left Phil Foden, the Premier League player of the season, at home.
Yeah, it's wild.
He left Cole Palmer out. He left Trent Alexander-Arnold out of the squad entirely. Leaving the most creative players in the country at home feels completely insane when you're facing a Croatian team that wants to sit in that condensed mid-block.
I get it. It sounds absurd.
How does that make any tactical sense at all?
It really does sound crazy until you look at the mechanics of where those players actually want to be on the pitch. Foden and Palmer are elite, undoubtedly. But they like the ball at their feet, and they want to drift into what we call the half spaces.
Okay, meaning those dangerous little pockets right between the wing and the center of the pitch, right?
Yes. And the problem is Jude Bellingham also wants to be in those exact same pockets.
So it gets crowded.
Exactly. Against a disciplined Croatian defense that is already clogging up the middle, if everyone is coming short to ask for the ball in the exact same area, you get a massive traffic jam.
So they'd just be passing around in a phone booth.
Precisely. By leaving the pure playmakers out, Tuchel shifts the tactical burden to players like Morgan Rogers and Anthony Gordon.
Okay, so it's less about fielding the 11 quote-unquote best individuals and more about building a machine that does one specific thing really well.
You hit the nail on the head. Gordon and Rogers provide raw pace, direct vertical running, When England wins the ball back, Tuchel doesn't want his team to play 5 intricate passes to orchestrate some beautiful attack.
He wants to go now.
Right. He wants a rapid, violent transition. He wants Gordon sprinting into the empty space behind the Croatian fullbacks before they even realize they've lost the ball.
That makes the midfield battle so vital then, because to try to do those rapid transitions, you have to, well, win the ball first.
Exactly. It all starts in the engine room.
Right. Which brings us to Declan Rice. He's likely going to be partnered with Kabi Manu or maybe Elliot Anderson, and they are going head-to-head with that legendary Croatian midfield.
And this is where we have to talk about the mechanics of Mateo Kovacic. He is the skeleton key for Croatia.
How so?
To escape England's high press, Kovacic drops incredibly deep, like literally stepping right between his 2 center backs to receive the ball. He acts almost like an NFL quarterback stepping into the pocket.
But instead of throwing a deep pass,
Yeah.
his superpower is just gliding past people with the ball at his feet.
Yes, exactly that. He uses his elite dribbling to carry the ball out of pressure.
So he essentially baits the press.
Right. By drawing the English press toward him and then beating it on the dribble, he completely clears the middle of the field. And this means Luka Modric doesn't have to fight for space.
Oh, wow. So Modric just gets to hang out higher up.
Modric gets the absolute freedom to float, survey the pitch, and dictate the tempo. If Kovacic breaks that first line, Croatia controls the rhythm.
But if Rice and Manu can trap Kovacic,
Then Croatia's entire buildup stalls out. It's a huge tactical clash.
let's flip that around, actually, because England has to build from the back, too, and Croatia isn't just going to let them have it. How does England ensure they don't turn the ball over in dangerous areas?
They use an inverted fullback system to neutralize the central pressure.
Right. We've seen this a lot recently.
Yeah. When England's goalkeeper has the ball, one of the wide defenders, the fullback, physically runs into the center of the midfield to stand right next to Declan Rice.
So instead of a flat line of 4 defenders, it morphs into 3 center backs, with 2 holding midfielders grouped tightly together just in front of them. So that's the 3-2 structure you mentioned earlier.
Exactly. That 3-2 structure is incredibly stable. It creates a massive numerical advantage right in the center of the pitch.
Which forces Croatia to make a choice.
Right. They either commit too many players forward to press, which leaves them exposed at the back for Gordon's pace, or they just sit back and let England hold the ball.
And when turnovers inevitably do happen, the tactical reactions from these two teams are basically from different sports. I mean, looking at the defensive to offensive transitions, England relies on this furious 5-second counter press.
The mechanics of that press are fascinating. It's basically a psychological and physical timer.
5 seconds on the clock.
Exactly. The second England loses the ball, whoever is closest hunts the ball carrier in a synchronized swarm. They have exactly 5 seconds to win it back and immediately launch a lightning-fast break via Bukayo Saka or Gordon.
But what if they don't get it?
If the clock hits 6 seconds and Croatia still has the ball, the English swarm immediately drops back into a defensive shape to protect their goal. It's very disciplined.
Contrast that with Croatia. When they win the ball, there is no immediate sprint to the goal. It's a slow, deliberate buildup.
Yeah, they want to kill the chaos.
Right. They shift back into their own 3-2-5 attacking shape,
Yeah.
and they use Josko Gvardiol's elite left foot to launch long, raking diagonal passes to their overlapping fullbacks. You want to stretch the pitch as wide as possible.
And literally make England run side to side in the Dallas Heat, which is brutal.
Brutal. Which brings us to the actual executioners of these systems, the captains. You have Harry Kane at 32, facing off against the 40-year-old Luka Modric. Let's compare them.
It's a brilliant contrast.
We all know Harry Kane is a clinical goal scorer, right? But his actual superpower in Tuchel's system isn't just standing in the penalty box waiting for a cross, is it?
Not at all. Kane's true value is his gravity. He is basically a black hole for defenders.
Because he drops so deep.
Right. He intentionally drops deep into the midfield. When he does that, a Croatian center back feels compelled to follow him to prevent him from turning.
And
Suddenly, there is a massive hole in the Croatian defensive line for those fast wingers to sprint into.
And then Modric operates on a completely different frequency. He's the deep playmaker. He relies on unparalleled vision.
Yeah, he doesn't need to outrun a 22-year-old if he can outthink him 3 seconds before the ball even arrives.
Right. But Modric has to figure out how to crack an English defensive fortress that didn't concede a single goal in 8 qualification matches. 0 goals.
Tuchel has incredible defensive depth. You have Mark Guehi, John Stones, and Ezri Konsa all fighting for spots. The defensive solidity is kind of unprecedented for England.
That's where the X factor comes in, though, the youth. You look at Croatia, and yes, they have Modric, but they also have Josko Gvardiol, a defender carrying a €110 million valuation, who regularly surges past opponents like an attacking midfielder.
He's a freak of nature.
He really is. And they have the 23-year-old playmaker, Martin Vatreni. England counters with Kobbie Mainoo and Morgan Rogers. How does this dynamic play out when the pressure hits a boiling point? Young players versus veterans.
Well, young players bring a fearless energy. They have a sort of tactical ignorance to the pressure that can completely break open a tight game. They aren't thinking about the stakes, they just play.
But fast forward to the 80th minute.
Right. Legs are heavy, the tactical structures start to break down, and the heat takes its toll. That is when the muscle memory of a Kane or a Modric takes over. The veterans manage the emotional temperature of the match when the kids start to panic.
The emotional temperature is definitely going to be tested, especially considering the environment. But hey, before we dive into how the grueling 39-day tournament schedule turns this specific match into a war of attrition, I want to take a quick second to remind you, our amazing listener, to subscribe to the channel.
Yes, please do.
We are hoping to reach 1 million subscribers, and you are the foundation of our success and continuation. Also, don't forget our grand prize.
Get in on this, guys.
Predict the correct score for this match and win half of the channel's profits. Again, the legal team wants you to know we are not a betting platform. You don't pay a dime. The prize money comes directly from the channel's profits, not from the contestants' money. So put your predictions in the comments.
Half the profits. Still can't get over that.
I know it's huge. Anyway, so factoring in that Texas heat, we really need to view this match as a war of attrition.
Absolutely. The World Cup is a 39-day marathon. Squad depth isn't just a luxury for rotation. It's a fundamental requirement for basic survival.
And this is where a massive disparity emerges between the two squads. Look at England's bench. They have an absolute arsenal of attackers. Ollie Watkins, Eberechi, Jared Bowen, all just waiting in the wings.
It's terrifying depth.
It is. Whereas Croatia has supreme ball control in their starting midfield, but their bench severely lacks winger pace and fullback depth.
And that disparity will likely decide the final result. Thomas Tuchel views his substitutes entirely differently than most managers.
How so?
They aren't just backups to him. He calls them finishers.
Finishers. I like that.
Yeah. He waits until the 70th minute when the Croatian defense has spent an hour exhaustingly chasing Saka and Gordon. And then he injects a massive spike in match speed by bringing on Eze and Watkins.
Oh, man. That's just cruel.
It's a gear shift that heavy legs struggle to cope with. It completely changes the pace of the game.
And Croatia's counter to that. What happens if they are trailing late in the game and their depth doesn't allow for a speed injection?
Zlatko Dalić flips the script to plan B. He brings on Dion Drina Beljo, who is a 6'5" target man.
So they just go big.
Totally. Croatia completely abandons their intricate midfield passing game. They resort to brute force, direct crosses hoisted into the box, hoping to win second balls through pure physical dominance.
So it goes from a tactical chess match to a bar brawl in the final 20 minutes.
Exactly.
The tension surrounding those final 20 minutes is going to be unbearable, largely because of the history here. This isn't just another group stage match for England fans.
Oh.
The ghosts of the 2018 semi-final are looming very large.
Oh, absolutely.
That was the night Croatia broke English hearts, coming from behind to send them packing.
Vengeance is a potent fuel for sure. But if Tuchel isn't careful, that emotion can cloud the tactical discipline required to execute that 5-second counterpress we talked about. They have to stay cool.
Now, zooming out from the pitch for a moment, the backdrop of this tournament has a somewhat bizarre political footnote.
Oh boy, here we go.
Right. The tournament is in North America, and the sources note there is a frosty relationship between U.S. President Trump and the UK government. Yet, because of recent royal family visits, he might actually be seen singing God Save the King in the stands.
That would be quite a visual.
And just to clear the air here,
Yeah.
we don't pick sides on politics. We're just setting the scene that the journalists have laid out in our sources. The English FA maintains a strict policy of staying entirely out of politics, and so do we. We are strictly impartial.
Very important to note.
We are not endorsing any left-wing or right-wing political viewpoints. We are here strictly for the football and the fan experience.
A vital distinction. Because the true atmosphere is dictated by the supporters, whether they are in the stadium or thousands of miles away.
Speaking of being thousands of miles away, imagine the contrast. You have fans in Dallas melting in 100-degree heat, While back in London, the city is turning into an absolute festival. If you're staying in the UK, the viewing options are incredible.
It's a massive part of tournament culture. Where are the strongholds going to be?
Okay, so for a really immersive vibe, the Long Arm Brewery in Finsbury Square is blending live sports with artisanal brews.
Nice.
If you want that massive open-air watch party, Devonshire Square has redeveloped its central courtyard and is hosting the Nuveen Big Screen. It's perfect for those evening kickoffs after work.
That sounds ideal for the atmosphere. A huge crowd reacting to every tackle.
Oh, it gets better. Because Mexico's a co-host of this 2026 World Cup, Mestizo in Camden and Chelsea is actually opening its doors as the unofficial Mexican World Cup headquarters in London.
Oh.
Yeah, they are rolling out limited edition tequila cocktails to nod to the host nation while watching England play. It's a great mix.
I love that cross-cultural celebration.
And if you want sheer scale, Flatiron Square in Borough has a 16-foot indoor jumbotron with 16 beers on tap.
16 feet. That's massive.
Then there's the Lost Oasis in Trafalgar Square, transforming the area into an urban sanctuary. And honestly, even if you were literally catching a flight during the game, no one lounges at Heathrow and other major airports have set up high-definition TV lounges with complimentary snacks and beer. You don't have to miss a second of the tactical shifts.
It paints a really vivid picture of a city completely consumed by tournament fever, just living and breathing every transition, every substitution.
It really does. Well, we've covered the tactical morphing, the legendary captains, the youth injecting chaos, the heat, and the pubs. But before we wrap up, I need to deliver our final call to action.
The big one.
Please subscribe to the channel. We are hoping to reach 1 million subscribers, and you are the foundation of our success and continuation. And this is your final reminder about the grand prize for predicting the score.
Half the profits.
Half of the channel's profits. Explicitly, we are not a betting platform. You don't pay to play. The prize money comes directly from the channel's profits, not from the contestants' money. Drop your score prediction below right now.
You'd be crazy not to.
Right. So, to synthesize this ultimate clash before kickoff, we are about to witness in Dallas is Tuchel's high-octane Premier League transition machine trying to outpace Dalic's battle-tested, possession-heavy midfield maestros.
It is relentless speed and rigid structure against patience, control, and tournament muscle memory.
It has all the makings of an absolute classic. But before we sign off, leave us with something to chew on. Based on everything we've unpacked today, what is the lingering question you are taking into this match?
Well, I want you to mull over this provocative thought. This 2026 World Cup features an expanded 48-team format. It is a grueling 39-day schedule played in the intense, exhausting heat of North America.
Right, it's a marathon.
Exactly. So when you factor in all that physical toll, could losing this high-intensity opening match actually be a blessing in disguise for the defeated team?
Wait, a blessing in disguise? Deliberately dropping points in a World Cup opener. That sounds crazy.
Not deliberately, but think about the aftermath. Teams that win their openers convincingly often stick to the same starting 11, right? They peak too early and end up burning out their main players by the quarterfinals.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
An early wake-up call forces a necessary tactical evolution. It strips away the pressure of a perfect run and compels the manager to utilize heavy squad rotation early on.
So they conserve energy.
Yes. Historically, the teams that stumble out of the gate are often the ones forced into the tactical tweaks that forge a resilient, adaptable tournament champion capable of actually going the distance.
Wow. So dropping 3 points in the Dallas Heat might actually be the catalyst needed to lift the trophy in New Jersey a month later. What a thought to end on.
It's going to be a fascinating tournament.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive, and we will see you next time.